Perhaps the lights.
Hola amigas y amigos, esto es Aguanta Ucrania desde Ucrania. Hoy estamos a las afueras de la ciudad de Izium, que fue teatro de unos combates terribles como consecuencia de la invasión rusa desde el mes de marzo, pero luego meses más tarde, en septiembre, Ucrania con su contraofensiva logró expulsar a los rusos y lo que se vio, lo que se develó tras la salida corriendo de esas tropas fue la absoluta destrucción de la ciudad, más del 80%, y como ya lo hemos dicho y visto en otras partes, la destrucción de su población. Más fosas comunes se encontraron en los bosques, más de 400 cuerpos. Y dentro de estas historias, hoy les queremos hablar de la historia de Volodymyr Okulienko, un poeta y escritor de libros de cuentos de niños que vivía en esta casa, que plantó este jardín. Es una historia muy triste porque él fue desaparecido por los rusos y luego asesinado, pero es una historia también de esperanza porque él quiso dejar el testimonio de lo que estaba viendo para que futuras generaciones no olvidaran lo que pasó. Y con nosotros están hoy nuevamente Victoria Amelina, que jugó un papel central en el descubrimiento de este diario, y Héctor Abad Faciolince, que va a dialogar con Victoria sobre esta historia inimaginable para todos nosotros. Héctor.
Victoria, Volodymyr Vakulenko was a poet, was a writer. He planted this vine, probably, and that tree over there, the tree of cherries. Cherries are probably the fruits of Ukraine. And you know from his father that in down that tree of cherries, he planted something different. And it was the prospect of a book, prospect of fear of him. Can you tell us, how did you discover these diaries?
I started talking to Volodymyr's father not only about the abduction of his son, but also about what his son did while he was with him. So we started talking about Volodymyr's writing, and this is when Volodymyr's father remembered that Volodymyr was writing even during the occupation, and that he hid this diary a day before he was finally taken away and never came back. So we started searching together with Volodymyr's father, and I found this diary here. And it is now basically becoming a book. This book will be available in Ukraine for sale in July. The diary was not so big. It's 6,000 words because Volodymyr Vakulenko entered the diary on March 21st on the Poetry Day, and the last words in the diary are about the International Poetry Day and about the fact that on that day he sees the birds in the sky, and it seems to him that the birds are saying that he believes I believe in victory.
You brought the diaries to the Literature Museum in Kharkiv. And in that museum, there are many writers who were also killed a long time ago. But now the diaries and the memory of Volodymyr are together with those old poets. That's plenty of meaning. Why did you take the diaries there?
Exactly, because I saw this connection between the executed Renaissance, between the generation of Ukrainian writers and artists, which were executed by the Soviet regime in 1930s. And I have to tell you that while looking for the diary in this Black Ukrainian soil, I was really afraid that I wouldn't be able to find it. And this will be another Ukrainian manuscript lost. Because unfortunately not all manuscripts, not all books of the writers executed during the Soviet times survived. Some of the, for example, the second half of a novel by Mykola Khvylevy was published in the magazine. There was 1,000 of copies of that magazine, but Soviet regime managed to destroy all the copies. So we only have the first half and we don't have the second half. So Ukrainian manuscripts do burn, as we know, and I was afraid that this manuscript could also be lost, like many, many others. But fortunately, we have it.
Okay, thank you. Maybe this is also in this terrible tradition that one Russian poet said that in Russia, they take poetry very seriously. They kill you because of a poem. Probably he was killed because of his writing, because of his position as a Ukrainian national writer.
I think we're all targeted not as writers, we're people of other professions. He was killed because he was Ukrainian, because he chose to be Ukrainian.
Thank you, Victoria. The diary was under this small tree. And you took something to.
I had a shovel.
It was in plastic.
In plastic bag. We still use them sometimes. They are forbidden in many countries, but we still use them.
How many pages?
I think it has 36 pages.
36.
Yeah, it's 6,000 words, around 6,000 words, because we already have it transcribed.
Okay. Now there are some cherries here.
Yeah.
Let's try one cherry. That's strawberry, but I'm sorry.
You're already intruding, so.
And you were the one who found the diaries.
Yeah,
the father told you it is more or less in this area.
He actually tried to find it himself, but couldn't, and said that I don't know why it's not here. Maybe you come another day. So he looked very desperate, and I kept looking and.
But the father told.
You were the one who found the diary.
Sorry.
You found the diary.
Yeah.
Yes, but the father told you that
Yes,
the son told him that give the diary to a writer, to a friend of mine.
No. He told just in Ukrainian there's the word ours, like our guys. It means it's perhaps, but it has no gender. It's like ours. Give it to when our come.
Okay.
Our people.
Our
they
people.
Come, give it to them.
So, and the father consider you our people. In some way. Okay.
Well, I was the first one who came to him after the.
Oh, good. You never met him before, the writer.
I met him once, but very briefly, so we were just colleagues, not friends.
And he used to write children books.
Yes, he was primarily a children's writer. He had a son, Vitalik, and when Vitalik was about 2-3 years old, the parents realized he has autism syndrome. So this connection with the child was very important for Volodymyr, and he tried to write for him, basically. His most famous book is called Daddy's Book, and it is a book of poems addressed to a little boy. And
how beautiful. And the boy is still with Yulia?
The boy is with Olena, Volodymyr's mother.
Okay, Yulia is
just a librarian and my friend.
Okay, okay. She's not a relative.
No, she's not a relative. She's just because I was coming a lot to this village and we became friends.
Okay.
She was just in Kyiv at the Book Arsenal, by the way, because the Book Arsenal Pan-Ukraine actually made an event for librarians from the villages which were occupied, and libraries suffered, of course, during the occupation. So they invited librarians to tell their stories. So Yulia is just back from Kyiv as well.
And do you think that when the Russians arrived, he discussed with them, he was very openly opposing there, or they just know that he was a nationalist Ukrainian or something?
He tried to be careful, and he writes about this in his diary, that he would be more brave, but he has a child and he has to think about the child's safety, and that is why he was careful. But Russians always, I document war crimes, so I know the pattern. They always look for people who could defend the community, who would be active in the community, and
who could write or talk very well or something like that.
So they target not only writers, but they would target teachers as well, policemen, mayors, definitely. So it's very dangerous for mayors to stay in the occupied village because, for example, in the Kyiv region, in Matizhin, Russian occupiers came and killed both the mayor, female mayor, and her husband and her son. So we have terrible stories like that. Some of the mayors are detained and tortured, but then let go. So perhaps Russians consider that they are broken now and they won't resist and do anything to protect people and keep basically this Ukrainian identity in the community. So they look for people who the people which, if you destroy them, then community will be much weaker and more obedient.
So Yulia could be also endangered in those days.
I'm sure she was in danger. She doesn't like talking about that, but I know that she was in danger.
Of course, and we know that they took many children away, and of course, they don't kill the children because they want to give the children to Russian families.
The children Russian, yeah.
Yes, but we didn't have so clearly know that they also took away adults alive that never came back.
Of course, they detained a lot of people in this region, in Izum, in Balaklia, for example, in the town of Balaklia, and this is a town of 40,000 people. Only organization I work for, it's Truth Hounds NGO. We identified more than 300 civilian prisoners, mainly men, but also some women who were detained and tortured with electricity.
Different ages. Old people, young people.
Yes, old people, young people. Definitely, if you served in the army, this would make you a target, despite the fact that serving in the army several years ago, or decades ago, doesn't make you a military now.